President Donald Trump announcing just moments ago that the United States and the European Union reached a framework for a trade deal after his talks with European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen at his Turnberry Golf Club in Scotland.
Amy speaking, let's listen in.
We're saying this is probably the biggest deal ever reached.
In mid-2025, Canada's Prime Minister Mark Carney refused to sign a high-stakes trade agreement with the U.S. under pressure, even as the European Union accepted a framework deal that favored American demands. This move triggered surprise not only in Canada, but across Washington itself, hence the viral attention. The contrasting outcomes expose deep fault lines in global diplomacy. On July 28, 2025, Carney announced that negotiations with the U.S. are in an intense phase and that a deal without any tariffs is improbable.
The negotiations are at an intense phase. It's a complex negotiation. You see with the various trade deals that have been agreed by other jurisdictions, European Union yesterday, Japan before, Indonesia, etc., the United Kingdom, that there are many aspects to these negotiations. We're engaged in them, but the assurance for Canadian business, for Canadians, is we will only sign a deal that's the right deal, that's a good deal for Canada.
Meanwhile, the EU struck a framework trade deal with the US the previous Sunday, agreeing to a 15% import tariff on most EU goods in exchange for commitments to buy US energy and investment. Carney, citing complexity and Canada's reliance on CUSMA compliance, refused to accept a potentially bad deal under U.S. pressure, even though Trump threatened to impose 35% tariffs on Canadian imports by August 1. Canada's export-dependent economy, 75% to U.S., demands careful negotiation stretching out beyond panic deadlines. Carney insisted Canadian business and citizens deserve a good deal for Canada, not just a rushed agreement.
That's the right deal, that's a good deal for Canada. We're representing Canada, we're standing up for Canada. The United States and Canada can do many.
Trump's previous deal-making style: ambush opposition, mock no deal, then deliver at the 11th hour. EU's strategic calculus: avoid isolation, absorb a 15% tariff in exchange for investment and energy deals. Canada's advocate William Pellerin warns that sectoral tariffs from US remain stickier than expected. EU deals grant Trump a visible victory before his tariff deadline. Canada remains in negotiation limbo and may face stiff 35% US tariffs. A deal forced may hurt Canadian trade leverage. EU's acquiescence signals that some nations prioritize shorter-term tourism, investment/energy, wins over long-term tariff relief. U.S. media and officials reportedly found Carney's refusal surprising, calling it shocking given Trump's ongoing pressure. Analysts and Canadian premiers praised his stance as protective. Canada didn't reciprocate retaliatory measures beyond existing retaliatory tariffs with China, choosing instead to shield negotiations by avoiding escalation. Ontario Premier Doug Ford openly questioned Trump's reliability. BC's Premier David Eby emphasized Canada's unique position versus EU or Japan, given integrated North American supply chains. As of July 29, 2025, negotiations continue. A moderate deal before August 1st that includes limited tariffs. Canada opts for temporary quotas to protect domestic markets. The global trading posture. Carney's stance may embolden other nations not to bow to immediate pressure. So, Mark Carney refused to cave, even as the EU walked into the trap. If Canada takes one for the long term over the short, was it smart or reckless? What would you do under a ticking tariff clock? Please subscribe. Drop a comment with your thoughts, and let's keep the conversation alive.